Hi, welcome to IKEA.
Can you turn back time? I'm sending my baby to college.
We don't do time travel, but we can make sure you find affordable, stylish options they'll love.
Aww.
Also visit our website to see how verified college students with an IKEA family account can receive a one-time use 15% off coupon.
Double
Offer in September 30th, 2025. Valid ID required. Discount applied proportionally across items purchased as shown on receipt. See IKEA-USA.com/ready-for-college for complete terms.
Do you ever walk into a room and just feel like something's off? You can't quite put your finger on it, but suddenly you're having trouble relaxing or getting anything done? Trust me, I have been there more times than I can count. And here's a little secret that I've learned over the years. Sometimes it's not just what's going on in your head, but it's what's happening in your space. Let me take you back to my 20s for a second. Back then, I could pretty much gauge my mental state by looking at my apartment. When I was in a good place, eating well, taking care of myself, my home was like a peaceful oasis. But during those times that I was really struggling, particularly with binge eating, oh boy, my apartment looked like a tornado had hit it. Clothes everywhere, dishes piled up, you name it. It was like my space was a mirror, reflecting exactly what was going on inside me. Pretty wild, right? Well, now, as a mom with toddlers running around, it's a bit different. These little monsters seem to have made it their life's mission to just leave a trail of chaos wherever they go. But even with the constant kid clutter, I still notice how the overall state of our home just affects our family's mood and energy a bit. Well, this whole realization led me to dive into something called Feng Shui. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking I'm about to go all woo-woo on you, which I do from time to time because I love it, hear me out. There's some really cool science behind this ancient Chinese practice. Feng Shui is all about how energy, or qi as they call it, flows through your space. So it's like giving your home a tune-up. But instead of fixing your car, you're fixing the vibes. And let me tell you, it can make a world of difference. I remember the first time that I really gave Feng Shui a shot. I'd been putting it off forever because, let's be honest, the thought of rearranging my whole place sounded about as fun as a dentist appointment. But when I finally did it, game changer. Suddenly, my home felt like a space that I actually wanted to be in. I could think clearer, work better, even sleep better. Now, let me just say, this was back when I had hardly any stuff, and it was mostly about just arranging my furniture in specific ways, like how's the bed facing, how's the couch facing, just overall flow of things. But it can go so much deeper than I ever knew back then. And I'm not saying that Feng Shui is a magical fix-all, but here's the deal. Our environment does affect us way more than we realize. Have you ever stayed at someone's place that looked fine, but something just felt off? Well, that's because we're picking up on more than what we just see. Feng Shui teaches us how to tune into these subtle energies and make them work for us. So it's kind of like being the DJ of your own life. You're mixing the perfect energy track for your space. And the best part? You don't need to be some spiritual guru to do it. It's all about simple changes that can make a really big difference. And I get it. When life feels overwhelming, the last thing you want to do is rearrange your living room. But trust me on this one, it is worth it. Because when you create a space that feels right, everything starts falling into place. And sometimes the changes don't have to be an entire interior overhaul, but just simple placement changes that change everything. So that's what we're diving into today. And our guest is Marie Diamond. She's a world-renowned master teacher of Feng Shui and the Law of Attraction, 6-time best-selling author, and the star of the major TV network series Feng Shui Your Life. Marie has been featured on NBC, Fox, CBS, and she's also starred in the global phenomenon The Secret. She's taught over 1 million students over the last 30 years, and today, we're in that group. So 3 key things we will learn are how your environment signals to the universe what you desire, and the importance of space clearing, how your space can improve your romance and your finances, and how to find your own personal energy number. Can we talk about back-to-school chaos for a second? The kids are getting back into routines, everyone's schedules are crazy, and suddenly you're supposed to have dinner on the table every night like some kind of magician. But want to know what I figured out? Shopping, planning, and cooking food really can be simple and stress-free, which is why I love Hungry Root. Hungry Root takes the stress out of mealtime by filling your cart with personalized picks and planning your week of meals, getting smarter with every order. With over 15,000 recipes to choose from each week, many ready in just 15 minutes or less, it's a huge lifesaver on those busy weeknights. I personally love their Smart Cart technology. It learns what I actually like and then recommends groceries, recipes, and supplements tailored to my tastes and needs. Plus, I love the kids' snack section where I get these really easy snacks to just keep in the car or throw in our to-go bags or lunch boxes for those of you who need them. They screen out over 200 additives, including high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners. They only source high-quality meat and seafood with no hormones or antibiotics, and they carry trusted brands like Oatly and Vital Farms. The time that I have gotten back has been incredible. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/mindlove and use code MINDLOVE. That's hungryroot.com/mindlove, code MINDLOVE to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/mindlove, code MINDLOVE. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real about something. Workplace stress is not just part of the job anymore. 61% of people are dealing with stress levels that are way beyond normal, and it is not sustainable. I used to think that grinding through stress was some kind of badge of honor. Push harder, sleep less, ignore what your body was telling you. And it nearly broke me when I was working for startups. And look, maybe that voice in your head telling you to make a change is right. Maybe you do need to quit your job or completely flip your life. But whether you're making big moves or just trying to survive your current situation, you need tools to handle it well. And that's where therapy comes in. Modern therapy teaches you how to set boundaries without the guilt, how to trust your intuition instead of second-guessing yourself constantly, how to make better decisions from a place of clarity instead of chaos. And BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform with over 30,000 therapists. They've got a 4.9 rating from 1.7 million reviews because it actually works. You can talk to someone from anywhere, and you can switch therapists anytime if it's not the right fit. A vacation won't fix chronic stress, but the right support can help you navigate whatever comes next. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. My listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/mindlove. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mindlove.
You can do all the meditations, have all the positive thoughts. If your environment is not telling the right story that is aligned with your goals, then it will be harder to manifest. You can still manifest with a lot of willpower and effort, but I always choose for easy and effortless energy. And so when your home is in harmony, you'll be in harmony and you'll attract other people and other opportunities.
Turn up your frequency with Mind Love. Bite-sized brain hacks for seekers, dreamers, and doers. It's time to give your mind a little love with your host, Melissa Monti.
So what inspired you down the route of Feng Shui?
Well, I would say Feng Shui came to me as I started knowing about this when I was 15 years old. I had a near-death experience at 15, and when I came back out of it and I started my healing process after, a lot of physical challenges, I asked my spiritual mentor that I already had at that time, what did I do wrong? Like, why did I attract this? Because I was already into creating vision boards. I was already into meditation, so I started very early on with this. And he just said to me, well, Marie, you have bad Feng Shui. And this is the first time I heard about it. And he indicated to me that I needed to really move from my bedroom, change the colors, change the images around me. And so that's what I did. I moved into the room of my brothers that already had, moved on out of the house. And then Literally, I started painting and changing the information around me. And that's how I started, like very basic information with Feng Shui. And later on, when I was in my 30s, I started studying it with a grandmaster in Malaysia. And because it really changed my life around. And so I was very intrigued about knowing more.
What was your situation before and what did it lead to?
Well, before, I mean, I was a good student, but I was very much bullied at school, sometimes really heavily beaten up by other girls. And I was very lonely. I had, like I said, no friends. I also had a really bad experience with my father, really a bad relationship. And I would say that really shifted both of them. Like within a few weeks after changing some basic feng shui principles and introducing that into my home and bedroom, the first thing is that bullies stopped bullying me. That was like from one day to another, it was just done. And some of them became friendly, some of them became friends. And then also my relationship with my father changed immensely. It was like he opened up somehow, or I opened up to him. I don't know which direction it went. And the last 10 years of his life, because he passed on when I was 25, we really had a good relationship, while the first 15, I would say, were terrible.
I have a very basic understanding of feng shui. I believe I understand it's something around the flow of energy in your environment. I've read simple things like maybe facing the bed towards the door, but that's all I know. Give us an overview of what we should know.
Yeah. Well, Feng Shui, first of all, is an energy system that is around for thousands of years. And I would say it's kind of comparable with acupuncture, with Tai Chi, Qigong, but it's actually based on the same principles of flow. But this is not about the body physically, but about the body around us, namely our home, the place where we live, sleep, and work. So you can kind of compare with a body. And then by putting certain elements, and even Chinese medicine is based on the 5 element theory, that every organ is connected with a certain element, if it's water or fire, and then the way you are eating and the way you take medicines will balance things out. So they always go for a balanced way of living. And if you do acupuncture, they will put, needles or pressure, acupuncture pressure points. And so in a way, your home has also acupuncture pressure points. Yeah, but it's very personal. It's connected with you and your birthday and when you moved into the space that you're living in. And so you have to think this like I put 5 elements in. So that means there's water we're working with, that's like a fountain. We can work with fire, there's like candles. We can work with crystals for earth. We can work with wood, that's plants, and metal, that's like metal objects. But every element is connected with colors, is connected with forms, connected with parts of what they represent in our life. And so by placing certain things around you, you are harmonizing the body around us. And when we do that, we're actually creating an influence on us. And so one of the first things I learned from my Feng Shui master was that there are 3 parts of manifestation, 3 parts of what we would call the law of attraction. As some of you know me from The Secret, the hit movie and bestseller, where I was one of the teachers in, is that for attracting and manifesting, he said there are 3 parts that we need to focus on. The first part is your spiritual part, and that is, you becoming connected with a higher source. Is that your higher self? Is that God? Whatever that is in your belief system. Feng Shui is not a belief system, it's just an energy system. So it honors whatever belief you have. The second part is really making sure you manifest in the right way by taking positive actions, have positive thoughts, have positive emotions, doing the right things to be a good human being, right? And that is what we call the human aspect of manifestation. But there's a third aspect of manifestation, and that is actually your environment. So wherever you live, sleep, or work has an influence on you. And for thousands of years, they were holding that knowledge more in China and Asia. It's only in the 80s, late 70s, I would say, that information started coming into the US, in Canada, in Europe, and now it's practiced all over the world. But it's an ancient system. And I was very lucky to being studying with a grandmaster in Malaysia that accepted me as his first European student because I'm originally from Belgium. And but for me, it made so much sense how a lot of people try to manifest something or change their mind or heal their body, and they're focusing on their body, what is of course important, or focusing on their mind, but they forget that their environment is for 33% influencing subconsciously our mindset and our body and our emotions. And we all know that somehow. Like we go to a place and we're like, oh, I don't like the vibe, right? And then you don't hang out there. And then the other place, you're like, oh my God, I love it here. And it's not that it's aesthetically always pleasing, it's just there's a vibe there, right? Or we know it as, women, for example, like, oh, something is off in my home. We start cleaning and decluttering and, reorganizing and, painting something or hang new things out because we don't feel good anymore in the space that we were in. Yeah. So what I have learned over the years is that it's such an easy way to change the energy, because changing your mindset, it takes time. Changing, doing the right things for your body, it takes time. But changing your desk or hanging something different or coloring it in a certain way, it actually makes life a little bit easier and more effortless. And so I always say that subconscious is working nonstop for you in your office, in your living room, in your bedroom. And so everything around you is what I call like a 3-dimensional vision board. So everything around you is giving you messages nonstop. The clutter is giving you messages. That image that hangs above your headboard gives you a message. That color that you have in your living room makes you feel a certain way. So the whole point is that we want to create harmony and balance. And based on that, we feel that we are starting healing. We start having more positive thoughts and better feelings.
When you say that everything around us is giving us messages, what are some examples of the messages that something like clutter or maybe the negative things in our environment that might not look negative on the outside, but is giving us that subconscious message? Like, what are those messages?
Well, I'm going to start with yourself, because when I look at you, you'll have a vase with dead flowers behind you.
It's a Zoom background, so
Okay. It's in the Zoom, right? But still, you're looking at it yourself, right? So, but let's say it's really there. So if you have dead plants, dead flowers around you, you actually have decay around you. So it means there's no life force in it. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, for example, you have beautiful pictures in your Zoom background that are like lush plants. Yeah. That are like round plants that shows life force. We try to avoid things that are sharp, edgy, and dead. Yeah. In plants, for example, because they show nature. But then if things are dead, like you're giving your subconscious, like, you're saying to your subconscious, well, I'm not moving forward. I'm getting stuck, in my life. For example, clutter, where do you have the clutter? If you have like clutter in your bedroom, you go to sleep and you're like, everything around you is clutter on the nightstand, on the ground, on your bed, you're going in a chaotic space to bed. So that will influence your sleeping patterns, but perhaps also your romance. I remember this one woman, and she was able to sleep in her bed, but the other side of her bed was full of clutter. All the clothes of the last weeks were laying on it, like her shoes, like makeup, whatever. So guess it's very hard to attract romance in that case, because you're saying there's no space for somebody to come with me to sleep there. So I asked her to declutter it. And it was very hard for her because she was so used. It was such a comfortable feeling to have something there. And anyhow, she did that. And like within a few weeks, she attracted for the first time in 10 years, romance in her life, because she created space for it, right? If you have the clutter at your entrance, like shoes on the ground, not organized, the coats hanging, like full of, energy that is like, feels like a little bit stuck, or you have dead plants there, or a carpet that is not nice anymore, each time you come in, you say to from the universe, like, you're not so welcome here, then don't be surprised people don't feel welcome in your life, or your children don't feel welcome, your partner doesn't feel welcome, or money doesn't feel welcome, right? So clutter in certain areas will affect you, especially, for example, in your workspace. When you're working, you need to organize things before you start working, so you have more clarity, more focus. So this is like what clutter can do. But then also like things like mirrors, for example. When you have like a mirror in your bedroom, you're actually telling yourself, I'm doubling my life. Yeah. But doubling your life means doubling your weight, doubling the people in the bed. If you're single, you're doubling somebody already there, but nobody's there physically. Could be doubling your health issues. Yeah. So there are some tests that have been done, studies in Beijing at university, that when people have mirrors reflecting their bed, they have a higher blood pressure, more likely to have a higher blood pressure, and more inflammation, more lack of red blood cells, what can lead to not having enough oxygen in your body. So the moment they take that away, and I've seen this over the years, people sleep right away better. Yeah, it's like their immune system is doing better, and whatever they're doing for health program, or if that's regular or alternative healing programs, they start doing better. Yeah, so there are just some simple things that we can do to really change our life, that where we live.
That's fascinating. The thing with the mirrors. I would have never guessed that. I was just thinking the other day, I should probably get more mirrors in my home. It would make it look bigger. But rethinking that completely.
Well, I would say, yes, there are places I would definitely put mirrors, right? So like, for example, you come into your entrance, I would never put a mirror across of your door, because you're saying get back out. The energy goes back out. But on the side, left or right, it could create some feeling of spacious. Or like in a dining room, doubling the dining area actually says you double the income, you double the money. I would avoid having mirrors doubling your sink, or your toilet, or your fireplace, because drainage and sinks and things that fire up, we don't want more of it. Yeah. But it can be in the hallways, where you feel like your hallway is kind of narrow. By putting a mirror in, it feels like more spacious. Or you have light coming in, but there's not enough light in one corner of the living room. By putting a mirror there, you bring the light shining into it. It feels there's more light in there. So there are some things definitely that work, but some areas we really need to avoid it.
So it sounds like you mentioned earlier, it's more about the flow of energy when you're really considering, okay, what is this object doing, changing with the energy in that specific location?
Correct, but it's also based on your birthday. So what I always suggest to people is to get my free Marie Diamond app. So they can go to App Store or Google Play Store and put in Marie Diamond. And there they will be asked to put in their birthday, day, month, and year, and their birth gender, because it connects in with your original DNA. So it's a kind of a calculation. It's not numerology in the traditional sense. There's a formula behind it. And then people will get a number between 1 and 9. And so when they do that, they will also see a saying your diamond compass. And when they look at the diamond compass, they will actually see 4 compass directions that work for them. 1 for success, 1 for health, 1 for relationships, and 1 for wisdom. And wisdom is all about education and spirituality. And they will see there will be 4 areas that are empty. Now, what does it do is that when people activate these directions that are good for them in a bedroom, in a living room, in an office, places where they spend at least 3 to 5 hours a day or night. So not like in a kitchen or in a bathroom, because you don't hang out there. And when you place there certain things that activate it, like in a success direction, for example, my success direction is behind me. Yeah. So I don't look at it, but it's activated. So it's activated with books, my books. It's activated normally with a vision board, because Normally I put my vision board there. It's activated with my awards. It's activated with images of successful people. So I put things in place, like I create like a success energy in that success direction. That is for me a good thing. My husband never uses my office space. Yeah. So he is mostly in the family room. So I will focus on his success direction in the family room. Yeah, because that is what he likes. For him, success is his family. So I put a picture of his family. He loves cars. So I put picture of the cars. He loves Formula One. He's retired, so he doesn't have a career anymore. So I put things that inspire him, that he feels, is great for him in his passions in life. Yeah. And so the relationship direction is, of course, different for a bedroom than for a workspace. In the bedroom, you'll focus on relationships that are romantic. Yeah. So you cannot have ever a picture of yourself by yourself in the bedroom, because you're saying, I'm okay by being single. So put a picture of a couple. If you are in a relationship, put a picture of you and your partner in your relationship direction, or two hearts, or the word love, or something that symbolizes for you a loving relationship. But in my office, in my relationship direction, I don't have, romance, right? Because my partner and me are not together in a business. So I do have a globe there, because I have students in more than 190 countries. So I have a globe there. So when I see a globe, I think about all my students. Yeah, I'm a global speaker, global author. So I put that there. But I also have, for example, images of me and my team. Yeah. So, or people that are very important in my life, in my business. Could be also images of, or books even about relationships, about marketing, about your teamwork, like whatever you place there. And everybody always has something to place there to activate it.
So we really want to think of the context of the room and that specific area and crafting it with that. Like, for example, I did my diamond compass from your app.
Yeah.
And my success direction is east. And so when I take my little office and figure out where east is and maybe put a vision board and what is my idea of success there.
Yeah, so you always hold the compass in the center of the room, and people sometimes say, which direction do I look at? It's a compass, so it will always move around and always show you the exact east direction. So east for you, it's interesting. You have a beautiful plants around you in the background. So a plant for the east, the element wood is very strong there. Yeah. So put a beautiful lush plant there, or bamboo, or not dead plants, right? Because then you're not attracting success. But it can also be your logo, Melissa, of your radio show, or could be the logo of your company. It can be books of people that inspire you for success, for wealth. I also would suggest, especially for this year, for you to add a little fountain in your success direction, because there's a lot of new income streams coming towards you this year. If you add some water, but always add a plant also, because if there's no plant to give it water, then it's not growing. Yeah. So, but it can be other symbols of success that for you, you feel aligned with you. Yeah, I don't know what that exactly is, but I always say to people, make it as personal as possible.
I have friends who really like to pack their space with stuff. And they say that it makes them feel good because it's all things that maybe they think are beautiful or sentimental in different ways. But I know that space clearing is a pretty critical part of Feng Shui. So how do you decide what the right balance of the amount of stuff is, especially when you're the kind who tends to lean more toward clutter?
Yeah, it's not always easy, but I always say to people, at least try to get rid of 10% of what you have at this moment, because you need to create like a flow. Right? And so I would say the universe wants to bring new energy in, and you ask for new energy, new opportunities, new relationships, like better health. You're asking for it, but you're saying, I'm not going to change anything. Like that's the craziest idea. If you want change and you don't change anything, right? So you can start literally with letting go of 10% of your books. give them to put them on a vintage app, or 10% of your clothing or your shoes, or going through your files and thinking like, do I still need that? Like I sometimes before I know it, I have a pile up from things, right? And I, twice a week, I just take and go through it like, oh, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. And reorganize everything on my desk. So it just creates an openness of your mind. So I always say to people, ask yourself the question, what you have, will you use that in the next year? Yeah. And so it's not about, does it bring me joy? Because there are a lot of things that bring me joy, but I don't want them around me. Yeah. So that's why in the book Feng Shui Your Life, I actually have a very special method that I've been using for years. We call it the 5-box system or 5-box system. And when you go through things, you look at what is it that I really need to keep? What is it that I can give away to friends, to family? What is it that I don't really need anymore, but I can give it away to goodwill? Perhaps some things are broken. They're just not usable anymore. Then you put them in the trash. And then the last one is, perhaps you want to sell some of these things that you have. There's some things that can make you money. Why don't you give that away instead of storing it? Yeah. So as you're doing that, and I always suggest to ask somebody to help you, like could be a partner, could be a child, and ask yourself the question all the time, like, do I need that in the next year? Yeah. Now, some things you want to keep because it's a memory, great, but not everything is a memory, because so many things have a story. Like, oh, I'm going to keep that because this was given to me by my aunt, and this was given by my grandmother. Now, it's possible you want to keep it, but then put it in a box, yeah, and put it in the storage so that it's not all the time around you, because everything is information. And the question is, if you feel you're stuck in your life, if you feel nothing is moving forward, you feel there's not enough cash flow, you feel you don't have new friends coming into your life, then you need to change and let go of some things that have to do with the past, so you're creating a better future.
My husband and I, we are pretty funny when it comes to our approach to things. We come from completely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
My mom has pretty intense OCD with cleanliness, and then my grandma is just known for just giving things away. She actually donated. My aunt was getting married, and she's like, Nanny, I'm going to be storing my wedding dress in this closet here. And my grandma just forgot a week later and donated her wedding dress. Anyways, I take after them, and I just do not have a lot of sentimental value. I realized at a young age, it feels pretty good to give away stuff. I was actually forced to give away a good amount of things at a period of life. And then I just maybe it was a coping mechanism, but now I'm just like, let it go, let it go. To be fair, I also like to bring things in. So it's a constant cycle.
Yeah, and that's okay to have that constant cycle. Yeah.
It leads us to a point of the amount of stuff that I look out of his, and I'm like, let's just get rid of it. And he's like, no, let's keep it, because everyone in his family keeps everything and they have a ton of land. Anyways, how do we find that balance, especially when there's two different people living in the same environment? I just got myself in the doghouse a little bit. He went out of town and I got rid of a ton of stuff from the garage, and he was not happy with me.
Yeah, but I get it. And, I always say to people, look, you need to find the balance. First of all, make sure that in the bedroom, there is no clutter. Yeah, you don't hoard things, or you don't collect things in the bedroom, because that is where you and your partner need to find the balance and the peace together. So let that be a place of limit for clutter and holding on to things. The second thing is, try whatever they're holding on to, try to cover it. So it could be in closets, so it's not so visible. So that's another thing you can find some balance in. And then even if you put it in the garage, make sure it's nicely organized in boxes, and just, have a commitment with each other to go over it every 6 months, to just say, let's go over at least 10%. It doesn't mean you have to get to go of everything, but just keep the flow going. So, because before you know it, you have again a lot of things, right? And so we have a deal here in my family, also with the kids. I train them from young on, every 6 months, let's look at your stuffed animals, let's look at your toys. What can we give away to people that don't have as much as you do? Because I can't add to it anymore. Your box of toys is full, right? Your library is full before you get any other book, right? So you need to let go of some things. And by doing that energetically, you're actually creating an ongoing flow. And that it doesn't have to be always a lot, but it needs to be a constant.
I have a love-hate relationship with things like journals. I'm a very digital person, but then every now and then I'm like, oh, this is why this is more effective. Handwriting, having it in front of me. So I'll go through a phase and then I'm like, well, now I feel obligated to keep this. So it ends up in a lot of those discussions again where I'm like, I'm just going to throw all these away. And my husband's like, but look how fun it is going through them. And then 6 months later, I will go through it. Or I found my old journals of when I was starting my business and I was like, this is kind of cool. Maybe I like it. But then I'm like, but am I really going to hold on to it for another 10 years just so I can have this 10 seconds of cool, look what I did on June 12th, 2012. Since everything is sending a message, what are those kinds of messages sending? Is it ever worth it to hold on to old things? Since everything is sending a message, what are those kinds of messages sending? Is it ever worth it to hold on to old things?
Well, you need to find a balance in it. Like what I do with like vision boards, right? Like I have vision boards from like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago. I took a picture of them, and I had them somewhere on my computer. So I can do that. With journals, I keep them like standard 3 years. And then one of the places you can put them on is in your wisdom direction. So you will see on the compass, you have a wisdom direction. That's kind of where you can put your journals. But it's like 3 years max, I keep them. So I can go back to it. Like, I don't know what I need to know what I did in 2010. Oh my God, it's so long ago, right? So, and sometimes before I let go of that journal, I go through it and perhaps there's this beautiful affirmation I wrote down, or there's a beautiful prayer, or something really cool. And I take it out and I put it in a special file. And it's called my journal file, and I put it in or I can put it online, or I can put it in a file and put it in my wisdom direction. So I did the same with like old letters, in the time we're still writing letters and cards, right? I just would go through them and like, from that friend, I'll keep 2 cards. From that friend, I'll keep 2 letters to kind of have a little bit of a memory for it, like to put in my memory box. And I literally have a memory box, and everybody in my family have a memory box. So they can put some small things in it. So later on, if they want to go through it, but you don't want to go through everything, but just a little bit of sentimentality is fine.
I like that idea of limiting it to one box. I'm passing this on as non-negotiable wisdom to the rest of the people in my family.
Okay.
So you mentioned getting your energy number, and an easy way to do that is through your free app. What does the energy number tell us, and how do we work with it?
Okay, so the energy number, first of all, gives you an indication of your energy archetype. So for you, for example, you're the healer. So you love working on healing or bringing people in to talk about healing. And it can be healing the mind, the body, relationships. It can be very broad. Some other, for example, I'm a connector. So I love connecting the dots. I love connecting East and West knowledge. I love connecting people. I'm a big networker. Somebody says, oh, I need somebody like, I already know, like, let me go into my phone. I know exactly the person that you need. Like that's kind of my energy flow. So every number connects with a certain energy flow. And then it also gives you the 4 compass directions that work for you. Yeah. And one is for success and money, health, relationship, and wisdom. And so by activating these directions in your environment, by using the compass, but also if you can, is looking at that direction. For example, if I would have a romantic dinner with my husband and me, I would make sure that he is facing a good direction and I'm facing a good direction. I have my compass with me on my phone and like, oh, sweetheart, that's the best table there, right? Because we are always in the right flow. Or if, for example, I do healing practices, like I do exercise, like I do Qigong in the morning, I would make sure I look at that direction because that's where the wind energy comes from. So the wind is the flow of energy. So the flow of health for me comes from northwest. For you, it comes from probably the south. So it's all about a different direction. And so, if, for example, I meditate, I face northeast. For you, that will be different. And so what happens when you face these directions, your brain waves will go easily to alpha and theta level. When you are facing one of the directions that is empty on your compass, you will be easily go into beta. And when we're in beta, we don't heal, we are not concentrated, we go easier in fear, we are hanging on in the past. Well, when we're facing a good direction, we're focusing on our frontal cortex and we have positive vibration. We're creative, we're excited, we're optimistic, and we're looking for the future. So the directions give that. And then, of course, based on that, and they can go into the book Feng Shui Your Life, or there's another book on Amazon available called The Energy Number Book, where people can go and see what that profile does for them. Because it's an energy profile. So it can be that there's certain healing practices that are better for you than for other people, certain professional activities that are stronger for you than for others, a certain way to how to deal with relationships. So it's a whole energy profile. And then based on that, there are certain elements, again, water, fire, earth, wood, or metal, that we can place and in these areas to activate that.
So should we be facing in meditation the direction of, say, health or wisdom, or would that depend on your goals?
Well, it depends on your goals, literally. Like I would say, general meditation, I face my wisdom direction. But if I, for example, really need to tune into my business, or I'm releasing blockages around money, for example, I would face my success direction. If I want to release like blockages with my friends or family or whatever that is, I would face my relationship direction, because your focus is different and you will get different information. That's what my students have seen over the years. It really works very well.
So the fact that I face west whenever I'm working, but my success direction is east, is that a bad thing?
Well, it depends. So the first thing we always wanted as the first principle we didn't talk about yet is that in your office, you need to always be able to see the door. So I don't know where you're sitting right now, Melissa, if you see the door.
No, it's behind me.
Okay, when you have the door behind you, you are not in a power position. Think about a queen, a king, the president of the United States. They would actually always sit in such a way that they can see the people coming into their space, even if you work online. So you are actually putting your back towards the opportunities. So I would suggest to turn your desk around, because is your desk against the wall right now?
I have a little podcast nook that we've built, and so
I get that. Yeah. So in a way, that's a podcast hook. But even if you turn that around, I understand that you are a little bit against the wall. But I always say to people, you will hit a wall. Like it could be a wall of a certain amount of people listening to you, a certain amount of opportunities you have. I always say, look, set yourself up to see the people coming in. I have a nook here also, right, with lights and a camera and a microphone, but I still see the door. The door is over there, and if somebody comes in, I can see them. So, and on top of it, I'm facing a good direction. So I'm actually facing northeast here, what is my wisdom direction. I'm teaching here all the time. So I'm speaking and teaching. So wisdom is my teaching vibration. So I cannot sit towards my success direction in my office, because then the door is behind me. Now it could look more interesting because I could be easier to set up things for like a little nook for me. But then I know out of experience, doing this for 30 years, is that I would not attract the same opportunities in my life. So many things have landed in my lap without me doing effort, because people, are connecting with me because I can see them energetically, even if they're just online. So I suggest perhaps to give that a try. Now, in case you cannot do that, sometimes it's just not possible, right? Let's be fair on that. Then I would suggest that you take like a little mirror left or right from you so that you can see the door behind you. That at least there's like a visual of it. So I think that could
Perfectly
be,
placed on accident.
and definitely have a high back chair. Like I have a high back chair where even my neck is like I'm like in a game chair. So sit in a strong chair that protects you because you are more vulnerable when you don't see the door. And then activate your success direction. So the east, look what is in the east right now, declutter it and put images or books or anything that activates it. It's already going to be better than before.
That sounds good. I do have the mirror perfectly placed. And in my success direction is actually, I have a little meditation nook with with things that help me center. And so between interviews, I usually sit there and I'll journal a little bit. So that seems totally doable. You mentioned the role of elements. What role do the five elements play in creating a balanced and harmonious living space?
Well, let's say that everything would be one element. Let's say everything is in white. Everything around you is in white tones. That's a metal tone. Then people will be too mental, literally. They would stay too much in their mind. But let's say everything is in colors of reds and hot pinks and fuchsia and purples, right? Then that's too much fire energy, yeah? And you put candles everywhere and everything is hot energy. So you will be actually exhausted quite a bit because the fire will be too intense. So the whole idea is to have in every room the five elements present. Yeah. So to have the colors or the forms or what they represent present in the space around you. And then also there's certain compass direction that needs more of it. Like give you example, if you want to put something red in the room, then you can put it always in the south because the south is a fire direction. If you have something in blue, you put it better in the north because the north is a water element. So based on the directions, there's certain things we can place. There's always two elements we can place in every direction. So for example, southwest is my success direction. So I always make sure there is something in earth. Yeah, like rose quartz is a very good element in the southwest. And I always would add something of fire, like a little candle and lit a candle. So to make sure there's these two elements. So it's all the directions need to be in balanced energy and also the center of the home. That is the ninth direction that affects everyone. So whatever is in the center of your home, you always want an earth element. So, and a little bit of fire. Yeah. So that will enhance and affect everybody living in the house.
So it sounds like when we're planning our home around the flow of energy, the first step should be setting a specific goal for that room and really deciding what do I want to feel, what do I want to cultivate here.
Yeah, that's correct. So in my book, Feng Shui Your Life, we actually go and ask first the Feng Shui goals of people. It's like in your bedroom, for example, do you want to focus on romance or you want to focus on your health? Yeah. Or do you want to focus on getting inspired every morning, right? To start your day. I don't know what that is, but based on that, we will activate one of these directions more to start with. If somebody said, no, I'm very happy in my relationship, then don't focus on romance, but I have some health issues. Focus, what can you do on your health? And so in my book, we're focusing on these different aspects so that you know what can you do right away. So the book Feng Shui Life is like having Marie with you, holding your hand with the compass to tell you what you need to do.
What are some of the ways you can use Feng Shui principles to strengthen family bonds and enhance your family dynamic?
So one of the things I always suggest to people is at the entrance, place a picture of the family. And I always talk about the family that you're living in right now. It doesn't have to be your parents and grandparents. Put them in the living room. You don't want to have these images in your bedroom. of the family, because that is a very romantic area. You can put there pictures of you and your partner and also with your children, but don't focus too many times on the children, because then all the children want to come and sleep with you. And I've seen this many times. So make sure that the children are activating their own bedroom. But definitely your living room, your family room, make sure there are some pictures, and you can kind of work with two directions. Any family that you come from, like your parents, grandparents, your nieces, nephews, like your family where you belonged, that you can put in the east section of the living room. Anything to do with the future, that means your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, you can put it in the west of your living room, because the east stands for the past relationships and the west stands for the future relationships. And then let's say you want to activate your relationship with your mother or your grandmother or your sister or your daughter, then focus on getting a picture where you are also in, if possible, in the southwest. If you want to focus on getting better relationship with your father or your brother or your sons, place a picture of them in the northwest. So this is how you can strengthen the relationships in the living room.
What if the goal is along the lines of self-growth, like cultivating wisdom and intuition? What are some ideas for that?
So definitely looking into your wisdom direction. So I know you have like a little altar where you center in the east, but it could be that it's not enough towards your business. So that you need to perhaps look more the centering place, a more spiritual self-growth, focus on your wisdom direction, because that will ultimately give you a better strength to center yourself and to grow as a human being. So sometimes people put too much of that energy into their bedroom. And so I've seen too many times people focusing too much on spirituality in the bedroom, and that can affect their romance, especially when they're single. So be careful with that. Yeah, I'd rather that you have an extra bedroom that you're focusing on, or a living room space. You can have an altar or something about self-growth in your bedroom, but don't make everything about spirituality and self-growth. Yeah. Again, there's a balance there that we need to honor.
What about incorporating tools like crystals into the Feng Shui practice?
So crystals are considered an earth element. Yeah. And so I've seen many times that people or have not enough crystals, like they're just like not grounded enough, and then I definitely need to add crystals to it. Or sometimes they have an abundance of crystals, right? And because it's part of their rituals, and that's beautiful. You know, if you have crystals, let's put them in the right place. Yeah. So there are three areas where we always want to create crystals. The southwest, that stands for everything with like rose quartz crystal or amethyst. Yeah, they always are good for that area. The center can also work with rose quartz and white quartz, citrine, white quartz crystal. And then west and northwest, we're focusing more on white quartz crystal and citrine. And the northeast, we're focusing on amethyst. Of course, there are more gemstones out there, but these are like the four crystals that really are good for Feng Shui.
I'm just trying to make sure listeners have as many actionable tips for redoing their homes or just adding little elements to change up the energy flow. And so, what about the welcoming, energetically balanced front door and entrance area? This is where people are coming into our homes. How can we enhance that flow of energy?
Of course. So I always suggest every year to have a fresh mat at the front door. So where you put in the word welcome, best colors or like earth colors like terracotta or brown or beige. I would avoid the blues and the reds, because for certain directions it's not so good. But if you stay kind of neutral, even gray is kind of fine to do that. Never put an image of just be aware of what you put on there. Like the people put sometimes their name on it, and I'm saying, well, you're walking with dirty shoes over yourself. So be careful what you place there. I love at the entrance to always have symmetry, right? So when you come in, so in Asia they would put food dogs, a female food dog and a male food dog, but it's all about symmetry. It could be two candle holders, it could be two plants, could be two statues you put there. So you're honoring by left and right, you're honoring the male and the female vibration, the yin and the yang. So, and then when you come in, make sure the door is clean. There's no garbage or trash cans close by, no spiky leaves. Just make so everything like very warm and welcoming. And when you open the door, make sure that is telling you like, I'm home. I'm happy to be home. Make sure there are images there that inspire you, and that can be images of your family, of your children. Could be a beautiful orchid. It can be even a fake orchid if you cannot put any other orchid there. A candle, something like where you feel like, oh, there's space. I'm home. Warm colors are always good at the entrance. So the beige, the browns, terracotta, oranges, yellows are always very lovely because then you feel like you bring the sunshine into your home.
It sounds like there's a few rules about plants. I've heard spiky plants, no dead plants. And so does that even include if somebody gives you flowers? Technically those are dead because they're cut.
Well, they are cut and they're still in a flow of life because they're still taking water on. So they're not completely dead. Yeah. So as long as they are absorbing water, there's life force in the plants, right? Also in cut flowers. So you can definitely, giving flowers and then putting them in a beautiful vase on your coffee table or even at your entrance, just feels like we're always happy to see flowers. But the moment they start drying up, it's important for you. And if the water gets stale and starts smelling, it's time for you to refresh it, or at least, it's time to let go of the flowers. And I always say, appreciate your flowers, say thank you to the flowers because they brought you temporary joy.
You talk about the concept of 3 types of luck: heaven, human, and earth, and how they influence somebody's life. What does that mean and how does it relate to Feng Shui?
So I kind of shared already that's the 3 parts of manifestation. So I've seen that over the time, some people are very focused in self-growth and self-help to create a positive mind, to have feelings of gratitude, to take massive actions, right? And then they feel like they still get stuck sometimes. They're like, things are not flowing because perhaps they are not taking care of their spiritual luck, meaning their connection with source or the connection with God, the creator, whatever that is for them, to create more that spiritual journey where they perhaps need to do more prayers or affirmations, or perhaps they're not connected enough with their soul purpose. Yeah. So we need to have that in balance. And some people are very spiritual. And like, I remember this couple, and they were, probably one of the most spiritual couples I've ever seen, but their life was so stuck. And so I asked them to come to see their house, and they refused. And they said, well, Marie, we downsized and we don't want you to see this house. And I insisted. And they were taking a lot of meditation classes with me because it's part of what I'm doing. And I was like, I feel like you're stuck. Something is not happening. So I came, by surprise by their home. And I literally couldn't walk into their house because there were so many boxes that I literally had to go sideways through the door. Yeah, to into the living room. And the woman could not even sleep in her bedroom anymore because of all the boxes. So I said to her, this is your environmental luck. You can be as spiritual as possible. You're amazing human beings. I know you're super grateful. You're having goals and you do all the affirmations and wonderful things. But you're telling the universe there's no space for change because your manifestation happens always in the place where you live. So I asked them to take out all this to a storage unit. And so they start doing that. First of all, the couple start doing better because they were really at the edge of not communicating with each other anymore unless they were meditating together. And then at the same time, they start finding jobs because they had both been laid off. And it was like a crisis in the United States. And then they start finding new jobs and they found a better and a bigger home and they got back on track. So I always say these are 3 parts of the good luck. that we have, and most people don't understand, your environment is the easiest to change. It's the fastest to change also. So many times people have said, I've changed this, Marie, and within a week, we literally say within 9 days to 9 weeks, you see something shift. This is what we have seen. And it's like there's a new flow. And when there's a new flow, well, life force is coming in. Like if you would see a dry riverbed, nothing can grow, everything extincts. The flowers, the plants around the riverbed, the animals, everything extincts. So if your home looks like a dried up riverbed, you can sit there and pray all your day and all night long. Nothing will change unless you bring water in. You bring flow back into that riverbed, and then within a year there's lush plants and flowers, and animals come in, and there's like an oasis that start happening again. So look at your home. Is your home an oasis, or is it a dried up desert or riverbed? So if you can do all the meditations, have all the positive thoughts, if your environment is not telling the right story that is aligned with your goals, then it will be harder to manifest. You can still manifest with a lot of willpower and effort, but I always choose for easy and effortless energy. And so when your home is in harmony, you'll be in harmony and you'll attract other people and other opportunities.
So if we are looking at our energy flow and identifying the areas that need improvement, how do you recommend somebody does that if you are giving them direction? What are they looking for? Is it their common areas of movement throughout the day? Like, do they look at their daily routine, where they go, how would you direct people?
Right? How do you start with that? Well, we have a really good exercise, but I want people to become aware, right? So take a notebook and literally open the door again and think, if you would be God, if you would be a guest, if you would be the universe, and you walk in, like look with fresh eyes in your space. Like, where are you spending the most time? Yeah. Let's say you're spending the most time in your living room. Perhaps you are having a social life there and you're working at the same time there. Well, then first start there and feel like at the end of the day, do you feel exhausted? At the end of the day, or when you start working there, do you feel energized, or do you have people coming over, or nobody ever comes over? Like, look at what is the problematic that you have, right? If you're, for example, or in your bedroom and you're working there and you're sleeping there, then you have like two activities there that are contradictive, because sleeping and working, it's a different time of your day and night. So I always suggest to people then, in that case, make sure that you put a screen, like a Japanese screen, in between your bed and the place where you work, so that as you work, you don't see your bed, so your focus is on working. And when you're sleeping, put a screen in front of your desk so your focus is on sleeping, because you're getting all the time a different message to your subconscious mind. So look at what is your situation. And people will say, well, I just live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I mean, I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment when I started using Feng Shui. Yeah, literally, when I really started practicing Feng Shui, I had a little studio, right, where I had my kitchen and my sitting area and my bedroom, but still you can activate it, because you don't need a big budget for that. You don't need a lot of space. You just need directions. And knowing where your good directions are for success, health, relationship, and wisdom, activate them. And by placing the right things and the right colors, like something starts shifting for you, because you start feeling better at your place. So I've seen this, and one of the things that people can do, they can actually go to my TV show, Feng Shui Your Life, that is right now currently playing at Tubi. That's a Fox streaming platform. And one of the places there is a young actor that has just a studio, right? And we place things differently, and all his career started opening up, because every place can be feng shuied. So it's a bedroom, or if it's literally a castle. But for me, what I start doing is to try to get with very practical, simple tips that everybody can use it, even if it's in 1 bedroom.
I love leaving people with one thing that would make the most impact from everything that you know about Feng Shui. We've given them so many actionable things, but say they only had the capacity for one change. What would you suggest that is?
Well, I would say I would start with decluttering. I start with like reorganizing your life. And because if you're reorganizing your life, you're reorganizing your mind. If you're decluttering things, you're creating space for new things to come in your life. So that's what I would start. And first do that in your bedroom or your office or the workspace where you work, because that's where money luck is, because that's where you're creating income. So I would start there. And if you have more relationship problems, or healing problems, start with your bedroom.
Well, thank you so much for all of the actionable tips that you've given us today. For listeners that are interested in learning more about you, your book, your app, your show, where's the best place for them to connect?
Well, I would say definitely mariediamond.com is the website, but they also can go to my Instagram, Marie Diamond Official, where every few days there are tutorials that people are watching. And of course, they can go to my free app, Marie Diamond, that they can download and start practicing right away.
All the links for this episode will be at mindlove.com/358. Now, your challenge for this week is to find your personal energy number. It's kind of like discovering the secret power in the Feng Shui world, and who knows, it just might unlock a whole new level of awesome for your life. And speaking of unlocking awesome, I have to tell you about something that has me more excited than a kid in a candy store, or me in a perfectly feng shuied room. The Mind Love Retreat is coming up, and it's going to be epic. So I want you to picture this. You're in a stunning mansion in Big Bear, surrounded by nature, learning how to transform your life from the inside out. And guess what? We are not just working on your internal feng shui. We are in a space that's designed to amplify all of the good vibes that we're going to be cultivating. And the real cherry on top, we have one spot left in our guest house, which is the most affordable room. It's like your own private oasis of calm in the middle of all of the transformative magic. So you're going to get your own little house, only sharing it with one other bedroom, complete with a kitchen and living room, surrounded by trees, and access to all of the goodness happening in the main mansion. So it's perfect for those of you that love a little extra me time to process all of the mind-blowing stuff that you'll be learning. And the best part is, like I said, it's the most affordable room option left. I'm even offering a payment plan so that it'll be super easy for you to say yes to this life-changing experience. And don't forget, all of your organic food from my luxury organic chef will be covered. Everything will be covered, including massage, kayaking, coaching, cacao ceremonies, sound baths, yoga. It's going to be epic. So if you're ready to feng shui not just your space, but your entire life, head over to mindlove.com/retreat to grab this last guest house spot. And remember, it's not just about rearranging your furniture, it's about rearranging your life for maximum awesomeness. You can find all of my amazing sponsors at mindlove.com/sponsors. And do make sure you're signed up to the Morning Mind Love, because I have like 9 epic things, including freebies that I'm sending out in the next 2 months, and you do not want to miss it. Thanks for giving your mind a little love today, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning into Your Higher Frequency with Mind Love. Head to mindlove.com for a free gift to keep your vibes up until next week.